Hello everyone, Charles Watts here, the Arsenal correspondent at Goal, joining you on Friday just after Mikel Arteta's press conference ahead of this week's game against Leeds on Sunday. Like I said in my earlier video, I am off this week, so you've probably noticed that I'm pretty quiet on social media at the moment, but I did listen into today's presser and I thought I'd just pop on here and tell you what Mikel had to say. Some interesting stuff, some pretty disappointing stuff as well. In terms of social media abuse, which I'll get to, and what he's revealed has happened to him and his family as well. And then also some injury news: Thomas Partey, Kieran, Tierney, a little bit on Balogun, Martinelli as well. We've plenty to discuss, so I thought I'd start with the online abuse that Mikel has revealed, which I'm sure is going to be all over the media once all the stuff from this press conference comes out. He was asked about it. Obviously, Steve Bruce has reeled in a week that he's been receiving death threats on social media, not through his account because he doesn't have one, but through his son's account, I think it was. And Mikel was asked whether it's happened to him and what he thinks about it all. And I'll just talk through what he's had to say. He does have a Twitter account, Mikel, but he was asked, does he still ever read it? And he said no. I think if we'd be reading everything that was written about us, probably we've had to stay in bed for a lot of days. It is part of it. I think it's great that people have the ability on so many platforms to communicate and give their opinions. The only thing I'm asking is to be respectful. Do it in a respectful way. You don't have to batter anybody or try to hurt anybody. It's just give your opinion with the best intentions. When it is constructive, I think everybody can take criticism. It's part of our job to look at it and think and reflect on it. But when people are just out with the intention of hurting, that's when it becomes a little silly, in my opinion. It's just finding that balance. It's got a lot of positives, but I think there are things we can do better as well to defend the industry a little bit more. So Mikel joining the growing number of voices now on social, in terms of football, and not just football, but wider public figures in trying to tackle the abuse that they are suffering on social media, which is absolutely disgraceful. Look, I know we've all got opinions. I know football makes people angry and you want to share that, but like Mikel says there, you share it in the right way, don't you? You don't have to just go out there and abuse someone for the sake of it. And this is where Mikel sort of goes on and talks about how it certainly crossed the line in terms of him. He was asked about Steve Bruce and asked, have you suffered the same sort of stick? He says, I prefer not to talk about it. I think we're all exposed in this industry, and that's why I prefer not to read it, because it affects me personally much more the moment somebody wants to touch my family. Because it happened, the club was aware of it, and we tried to do something about it, and that's it. We have to live with it. It is not going to stop tomorrow, we know that, but medium, long term, we can do something about it. That's what I am pushing for. Now, we know that the Premier League and the EFL have submitted open letters now to the CEOs of Facebook and Twitter to try and tackle this problem that, as Mikel said, it's not going away, it's only getting worse. It's the worst thing about social media. I remember when social media started, when I first started joining it, it was such a better place to communicate, to be involved in, and as it's grown, maybe it's as I've got more and more followers, they've become more open to it as well. But it can be an absolute cesspit out there for the way people talk, or you hide behind profiles that aren't their own, and it is something that has to be tackled, because it is absolutely disgraceful, some of the way people talk and abuse people online and think that it doesn't affect people, because it clearly does. There's no doubt about it. Mikel revealing there that it's affected his family. He's had his family have received threats because of the position that he's in, and he said, how much of an impact does it have on your daily life? And he says, but it's part of the job. Honestly, I'm not the only one who is suffering these kind of things. I think when you're winning, everything is beautiful and you're incredible and you're the best coach. When you lose it, it's a complete opposite. That is the reality, and it's not pleasant. When it goes personal against me, I can take it. But when the family is involved, then it is a different story. But we are lucky enough as well that the club is very supportive. What we have to when these things happen. My only purpose is it going to... my only purpose is it isn't going to tomorrow again. But medium and long term, can we do something about it to protect more the people who are involved in the game and other industries when it happens the same way? So Mikel, like I said, joining the growing voice of people who are calling for some sort of action from the social media companies to tackle abuse. And it's really sad to hear that he has suffered in the way that so many other people have. It doesn't surprise me, I have to admit, because we all see how some people talk on social media and believe they can just abuse who they want. It is the minority. I hope it is the minority. People who do it. Happens to me, but nothing to the extent I can imagine that it happens to people like Mikel Arteta and real public figures in sport and elsewhere, and what they must deal with when they look at their comments. And I can understand why people like Mikel just don't look at their Twitter anymore at all, because like he says, when you win, you're the greatest coach in the world, but when you lose, then it's almost open season for the online trolls and abusers who just hide behind profiles and think they can do what they want. Hopefully the social media companies will start to tackle it, and they'll start to tackle it fairly soon. Away from that, we'll talk a little bit about injury news and team news now. Let's talk about Thomas Partey, who it's now been revealed his injury, which at the start of the week, people were telling me, certainly people on Partey's side, wasn't quite as bad as they first, they thought he would be all right. He would probably miss the Leeds game, but could be back sooner rather than later. It looks like he's now going to be out for at least a sort of couple of weeks with a hamstring. Mikel admitting that it was worse than they first feared. He said it's a difficult one. He felt something during the game. We didn't think it was too bad, but after the scan, it looked a little bit worse. He won't be available to play against Leeds, and we'll see how it evolves over the next few days. But it's a muscular injury. Now, the injury is a hamstring injury, and we all know that, you're not coming back fairly quickly from a hamstring injury. It depends what grade hamstring it is. Doesn't sound like it's the worst one, so you're not looking at maybe 4 to 6 weeks, hopefully sort of 2 to 3 weeks, and he might be available again. But you just don't want to rush with Thomas, because every time he starts getting fit again, he keeps breaking down. It's a really frustrating thing for Arsenal. He's their big summer signing. He's barely played this season because of injury. He keeps coming back and then breaking down, and they need to get him right. It's because the season's going to end up been and gone, and he's barely played any football, which is a real shame. He said, Mikel talking about it here, he said, look, he was devastated. We are all devastated because we know the importance of Thomas. We haven't had him since he signed in 3 consecutive games. I think he's only played 90 minutes once since he come back from the injury, so it's a big blow for us. But he's adapting to the league. I think he's been very unlucky as well. He is very frustrated because he's a really competitive guy who wants to feel important and be important for the team. And at the moment, the injuries are restricting a lot of game time for him. It is such a blow, this news about Thomas going to be out again now. He's such a good player. We see how good he is. We see the importance he is, how important he is to the team, what he brings to the team when he's fit. And the fact it's so stop-start is just really frustrating for everyone. You're almost beginning to look towards next season now, Thomas, and just hoping, you get whatever you can out of him between now and the end of the season, and then just let him have the summer to get fully fit, and then go get ready to really hit the ground running next season, because he's clearly struggling a little bit with the Premier League and the pace, and maybe he's on catch-up as well from that first injury, and he just came back a bit too early, and ever since then it's been a problem, because obviously that first problem was the thigh, now it's the hamstring, and you've got to think that could be some way linked, and it is a blow for Arsenal. They got Leeds this weekend, then they got Man City coming up, they got the 2 Europa League games as well, and suddenly you're looking at being without Thomas Partey for all of those games, and it is a real blow. And you'd imagine it's probably going to be Danny Ceballos and Granit Xhaka in the central midfield now, certainly this weekend against Leeds. Mohamed Elneny is another option, but you would think Ceballos is probably just ahead of Elneny in the pecking order. Granit Xhaka has been great recently, really good, but you also wonder how good he's been. Is that because he's had Thomas Partey next to him on some of the occasions? Because Thomas Partey, as Mikel Arteta said last week, he makes everyone better, and he does. He's that sort of player. So real blow for Arsenal in terms of Thomas Partey, and it looks like we're going to certainly be without him for 2, maybe 3 weeks now. In terms of Kieran Tierney, slightly better news in terms of Kieran. Still not back yet, so I'm not expecting him to be involved this weekend, but he is beginning to get there, according to Mikel Arteta, who's now revealed that the lower leg discomfort that Arsenal have been referring to is in fact been a knee problem. He says when he was asked about how far away is he from coming back, he says we have to see how the knee reacts when we start putting a little bit more load on him. He hasn't done much yet, but he's very positive at the moment. He's in good spirits and he's desperate to get back in the team. We will see in the next few days when he starts to train a little bit more with the team how the knee is feeling and how it reacts. When he was asked, was the injury worse than you first thought when he first flagged it up. He said, we weren't sure, we didn't know. When you have pain and you are not comfortable and you're someone like Kieran who does everything at 100 miles an hour, you have to be in the right condition. And when someone like him is telling you it doesn't feel right, something is wrong, you start to worry because you know how much he wants it as well. He's in a much better place now. He's feeling better. He's training. He's positive. He's willing to come back early and help the team. Hopefully we can have him back soon. So that sounds a lot more positive on Kieran Tierney. Obviously it looks like Leeds is going to be too early for him, but maybe you're looking at the Europa League game or the following Premier League game as a possible return for Kieran Tierney. So very disappointed in terms of Thomas Partey, but slightly better news on Tierney that he is back training. Perhaps not fully with the squad yet, but he is back doing training and getting better, and the knee is feeling better. So hopefully it won't be too much longer until we see Kieran Tierney back involved for Arsenal, because we all know how important he is. A couple of little bits before I go. Folarin Balogun, Mikel was asked about him as well. We all know he's out of contract in the summer, hasn't been in the squad at all recently, and the presumption's certainly been that, you know, Arsenal may well have accepted that he's going on a free transfer in the summer, like most fans have. And he was asked that exact question. Is the fact Thomas isn't playing the fact that he's going to be on his way? And Mikel says, no, I'm still very positive that Flo is going to stay. It's what we are trying as a club. It's what I'm trying as a manager. And as far as I know from last week, the player wants to be here. He's played much more than people thought this season. I think he's made some big progress. So Mikel not ruling out Folarin Balogun signing a new contract and staying at Arsenal. I still think it's a little bit... I'd still be surprised if he does. I really hope he does. I absolutely 100% hope he does. I'd still be surprised just because of where we are and how close we're getting to the end of that contract now, and how many clubs are knocking on Balogun and his agent's door saying they want him. I still think looking at Germany as the more likely option of where he's going to play next season. But you never know. If Arsenal can convince him, then it would be great news, because as we've all seen, he looks a very talented young striker. And given Arsenal are going to be probably moving a striker on in the summer, maybe two, then you think that Balogun's got a real opportunity there, because we don't know what's going to happen with Eddie Nketiah. He's only got coming up to a year left in his contract as well, and Arsenal are going to have to try and do something with that in the summer, because you can't let him run down either. So you've either got to get rid of Eddie if an offer comes in, or you've got to try and sign him to a new deal. And then you've got the same situation with Lacazette, who's also coming up to the final year of his contract. And so you've got to make a decision with those two. So potentially you've got two strikers leaving there, and you don't really want Balogun, your best up-and-coming forward, to go as well. So plenty of work to do on Arsenal with Arsenal in terms of Balogun's contract. But as Mikel said there, hope he's still positive that he can convince the young striker to stay. Finally, just a little bit on Gabby Martinelli. I've been getting lots of questions on Gabby and why he's not been playing recently. Or getting more opportunities. Obviously, he didn't come off the bench at Villa at the weekend. Willian did. That decision came in for a lot of criticism on social media. And Mikel said, look, he's getting into the rhythm again after his injury. He's earning his place like everyone else. Don't forget, we did play him against United. He started in that game in front of other players. So it's not like he's not getting the opportunities. And that is true. He did start in that game. Obviously, only made it to half-time. He was replaced by Willian, who actually played pretty well in that second half there. Against Man United, probably his best performance in an Arsenal shirt since the opening day against Fulham, I thought. But reverted to type against Aston Villa when he came on. Willian, not really an impressive performance from him. And so, yeah, I can understand why there was a lot of criticism at Mikel for that one. Arsenal obviously in action on Sunday against Leeds. Going to be a really difficult game. They need to win this one after those two successive defeats in the Premier League against Wolves and Villa. Going to be a very difficult game against an energetic and very good Leeds team who are back to winning ways after a little bit of a blip in terms of results as well. And Bielsa's going to be bringing them here. Mikel was asked, his attack best form of defence against Leeds. He said when you look at a lot of the games they've lost and how they've lost them, it's pretty incredible as well. Maybe they haven't deserved those defeats. They've been really punished on set pieces as well, which is one key area there. But overall, what they've produced in open play compared to the opponents, it's difficult to see games where they haven't produced where they have produced less than the opponents, which is true. So Mikel targeting set pieces probably against Leeds this weekend. They have been poor in set pieces, no doubt about that. The only problem is Arsenal haven't been great when it comes to scoring from set pieces this season, and their delivery's been pretty poor. So if they are going to take advantage of that, then they're going to have to do an awful lot better. Right, that's about it from me. Like I said, I am off at the moment. I'll be back for the Leeds game at the weekend. But please do still head over to goal.com. We'll have all the Arsenal news on there building up to that big game. Thank you, everyone. Enjoy your Friday. Enjoy your weekend. And I'll see you at the Emirates on Sunday.